Hello and welcome to the WriteCome.com podcast, where we help you to make money from your words. Each episode will be sharing tips, tricks, and strategies you can use to make more money from your writing, publishing, and marketing to your fans and audience. Let's get started with your host, Barry J. McDonald.
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very welcome to today's podcast episode from WriteCome.com. Now, I was just thinking to myself as I'm sitting in the car here waiting for my wife to come back, why am I doing the podcast challenge? At the moment, there is only a handful of people in it. I think at the moment, I had 8 people who had responded to joining the challenge and had given me their details. And I had advertised it in Facebook. I had put it in front of people who are interested in podcasts. I was just looking to see if maybe people who were interested in podcasts would be interested in creating their own podcast. Now, I did get a lot of activity on that Facebook ad. I had a lot of people who had liked it. I had a few people who had shared it. But for whatever reason, I don't know whether I had targeted the wrong people, but unfortunately, a lot of people hadn't actually joined the list. Now, I have found that even on my own list, I had asked a lot of people, would anybody interested in doing the podcast challenge? And, unfortunately, not everybody was interested in it. And it kind of got me thinking, why am I actually doing this podcast challenge? There's only 8 people who have put their hands up and said that they are interested in doing it. And it kind of got me thinking, I'm not really making any money out of this. I'm giving up my time to do this. And I don't even know if somebody is going to, come to the end of this challenge, if they are going to feel confident in themselves to actually do a podcast episode. So this could be a total and absolute complete waste of my time. Now, for whatever reason, even though, part of me is saying, or probably the logical part of my head is saying, Barry, why are you even doing this? Just drop it by the wayside, go back to what you were, your business was built on. But for whatever reason, there is a kind of a part of me that, I don't know whether it's my gut or where this idea is coming from, but there's a kind of a feeling that I need to do this, that I need to create this podcast challenge. Now, I have found sometimes that in my business, sometimes, even though there seems to be no logical reason for why I'm about to do what I do, sometimes it actually pays off in the long run. Even when I was in the beginning of my business in self-publishing, when I actually got into writing fiction, again, it was a complete and absolute fluke. It was just somebody, the ghostwriter I had planned to write my book, let me down at the time, and rather than me waiting to hire another ghostwriter, I had said it to my wife, and she says, well, why don't you go and write about it? Because you've the gist of the story, you know what's going to take place, and so why don't you give it a go and see what happens? Now, at the time, I hadn't a clue about fiction writing. I didn't know where the book was going to go, but for whatever reason, and again, in my gut, I had this feeling that this was something I needed to do just to kind of maybe mark it off on my little achievement list or whatever, but it was something that I could do. And again, I'm feeling that feeling at the moment with this podcast challenge. I'm having great fun recording these videos, and I probably have put a lot of myself more into the content in this challenge than I have in other training courses. Now, that's not to say that any training course I had released in the past was kind of not as good as I could make it, or I didn't put my best effort into it. I did put my best effort into it, but again, doing the content for this, for whatever reason, it feels a lot better. It feels like I am making a difference to somebody. Again, as I said, people may go through this podcast challenge and they might come out the other side and do absolutely nothing with it. But for whatever reason, it's given me great joy to do this. Maybe it's a feeling that I am giving back, that I'm not maybe collecting money for it. Maybe it's some kind of charity thing, or I don't know what part of my mind this is appealing to. But again, in my gut, it's kind of, appealing to me to do this, to reach out to those people. And as I said, it's been a lot of fun for me. I've loved the few comments I've had from people who are doing the challenge. I've loved interacting with them and responding to their questions. And again, I don't know where this is going to go in the future. Could this be a challenge that takes off? Is it going to be, a major part of my business? So I'm probably nattering on at the moment, and maybe I am not bringing a point. But sometimes, and sometimes you may have maybe a plan for where your business is going. And you may have a kind of action plan that this part is going to happen, and then you're going to move on to create this. Then sometimes you're going to move on to create this, and maybe you have that laid out. But sometimes you get like this kind of sidestepped where you just get a kind of an urge or a feeling or something like that, maybe to go off in a completely different direction. Again, sometimes you can see what is going to happen in the future. Is it going to pay off? Is it going to be a total waste of time? But sometimes you just get this kind of itch that you need to scratch, and that is what I'm feeling right now. So maybe if you have an itch that you, like me, who you need to scratch, you never know how it might play out in the future. Somebody who might be listening to this podcast in months from now or years from now could say to themselves, well, this is the point where Barry's business went off in a different direction, or this is where he really took off, or this is where he found his feet, or whatever. Again, this may be something that is going to repay me in the future. I just don't know. But if you are feeling maybe that you have an itch to scratch, or maybe something that you want to do, but it doesn't kind of have any kind of logical reason to it. As I said, when I got into the fiction writing, that was something that I hadn't seen coming. I was probably more interested in someone who would create probably blogs or write kind of non-fiction or anything like that. I didn't see myself going that direction. And for me, making that choice, that has really, really paid off for me in the long run. The profits that I have made from my fiction book has paid my mortgage this past couple of years, so I have no complaints on that. But at the time when I got into doing that, I hadn't a clue, where it was going to go in the future. It was just something that kind of bubbled up inside me, something in my gut. I don't know what it was, but that caused me to go off in that direction. So I don't know where this podcast challenge is going to go in the future. It could be maybe just a fart in a tornado that is just going to disappear as quickly as it had appeared. Again, maybe I'm not going to achieve anything. Maybe I am only going to just get the good feels out of this, that I have helped somebody, that I've made them maybe stretch or whatever. But as I said, as I am doing this challenge, even if nobody really gets anything out of it, I am getting a lot of enjoyment out of it. And as I said, the videos are fun for me. I've probably created better content in this challenge than other things I've done, because I have this kind of a good vibe or nice feeling that is coming off for it. So give that some thought today. If you are in your business, maybe you have an itch you need to scratch. Maybe there is something that is just kind of nagging away at you. Maybe you can't see how you're going to make money out of it. Maybe it's not something that you can logically attach onto your business. Maybe it's taking you in a completely different direction, but maybe it is something that you need to try out. Maybe it is something you need to mark off the list, because you don't know where this bigger idea, again, I'm not somebody who is very, very religious, but I do believe that there is a bigger brain out there in the universe than me, and that is probably sending me these messages or these ideas. So maybe I need to act on that. And maybe like you, maybe if you do receive a kind of an urge or a message or something like that, maybe it is time maybe to try it out, even though it doesn't make any logical sense, because as I said, you don't know where that is going to take you in the future. So give that some thought today. Maybe if you are like me, who can't see where this idea is going to take you from, but as I said, you never know in the future, this may pay off in the long run. Who knows? But let's see how it goes anyway. But as I said, I am having a lot of fun doing this podcast challenge at the moment. So as always, if you would like to reach out to me, or if you'd like to know what we are doing over on Writecom, head on over to Writecom, WRITECOME.com, or if you want to drop by the Facebook page, again, just do a search for Writecom. Or if you'd like to reach out to me, if you'd like to ask me any questions, or if you'd like me to cover anything in an upcoming podcast, again, reach out to barryjmcdonald@gmail.com, and I will follow up with you. So as always, again, this was a little bit of a brain fart today. I'm waiting in the car park, waiting for my wife to come back from the shop, but I just had this urge just to get this podcast episode off my chest, and here we go. It's done and dusted. So as always, thanks for sharing your time again today. Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like more from the Writecom.com podcast, be sure to subscribe now for more tips, tricks, and ideas you can use to make more money from your words. See you in the next episode.